Hi, welcome to Botany, and today we'll be talking about plant hormones. Alright, so we're going to talk about matching plant responses to stimuli causing them. On the left side here, labeled A, B, C, D, I have stimuli, and on the right, with the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, show the results of the stimuli. So on the left, I have predation from herbivores. You guys remember what herbivores are? Those are the ones that are plant eaters. We have favorable conditions. We have competition from other plants, and we have water shortage or low temperature. The stimuli, the result of the stimuli on the right is creating shade, storing extra nutrients, going dormant, growing spines, thorns, toxins, those types of things. So which one do you think that A, predation from herbivores, would cause as a response? So if we have predation from herbivores, do we want to store more nutrients? That wouldn't be a good thing. Would we go dormant? That doesn't really help as a defense against herbivores. Would we grow? Probably not that either. So the most logical one is rapid growth, spines and thorns, toxins, and tissues. Next slide here, I have the answer key. So here you go. Predation is the spines. Favorable conditions is the extra nutrient storage. Competition from other plants is the growth. And water shortage or low temp will be rested growth or dormancy. So, what are plant hormones? That's what we're going to be talking about. So, plants need a way to respond to the environment to cope with predation and abiotic stresses such as drought. And if you remember, abiotic stress, or just biotic, means dealing with living things. Abiotic means not living. All right. Plants do not have a nervous system, so they use plant hormones, aka plant growth factors, to protect them. So plant growth hormones, they're not like animal hormones. They don't grow in special organs. They occur all over the whole plant, although they can be used where they're made, or they can be transported within the plant to another area to help the plant. So what do plants need to grow? So this plant here on your left has not been taken care of. It's got the droopy leaves, kind of dried out, just sad looking. So what do you think it needs to help it grow healthy? Needs sunlight, water, mineral nutrients, and an air supply. So if a plant can't get these from its environment, can it move somewhere else? No, but it can control the direction of its growth. Some effects of plant growth factors. They cause cell division, which gets the plant to grow faster. Cell elongation or enlargement, again dealing with growth, right? That's what these are, plant growth factors. And then cell differentiation, so it's got specialized cells to do specific projects within the plant, okay? Oops, forgot to give it to you guys. Cell division, cell elongation, and cell differentiation. Now we're going to talk about tropism. So what is a tropism? A tropism is a growth movement in response to a stimulus. Plants grow either towards or away from a stimuli depending on what area of the plant is growing and what type of stimuli. So a growth movement towards a stimulus is called positive tropism. So it's growing towards the stimulus, that being the key. Okay, so now that we've established a growth movement towards a stimulus is a positive tropism, what do you think a growth away from the stimulus might be called? There you go, negative tropism. And again, it depends on what part of the plant is reacting. And so no, all plants will not respond in the same way. We'll get into this in more detail in a few minutes. Okay, so what do plants respond to? They're sensitive to growth. Their growth is affected by the environmental conditions. Anything that will affect the plant's growth is called a stimulus. So in this case, we would have three main types. First one is light, second is water, and the third is gravity. So which stimulus do you think will have the strongest effect on the plant? That would be gravity. Okay, so how do tropisms specifically affect growth? This plant here on your right, poinsettia, does not have a straight stem. What do you think might have caused this? Well, since we're talking about tropisms, something's going to cause it to go to the left in that direction. So in this case, the plant was placed on a windowsill and received light just from that one direction, so it was leaning towards that to get as much light as it could. Do you guys know what the name of this type of plant response is? It would be called phototropism. You have like photosynthesis, where they're using sunlight. Anything to do with light is a photo something or other. So, do plants have hormones too? They do, because we've talked about the growth hormones, but they're not like humans. Hormones produced by the plants will deal with growth, flowering, fruit ripening. There's a whole bunch of other things we'll go into in a minute. The growth of shoots and roots. Remember, the shoots are the top part of the plant. Roots are underground. That's controlled by what are called auxins. Auxins deal specifically with the growth of the shoots and the roots. A little bit of a circular reasoning there. And the chemicals for this are produced in the tips of the shoots and roots. Let's say that one 5 times fast. Okay, so what environmental stimuli might cause a plant to produce auxins? Probably sunlight might be one of them, but we're going to go with gravity. So which way up? How do plants know which way to grow? Gravity tells them. So the other one is water. Roots always grow towards water. That's a positive tropism. Alright, roots will grow sideways or even upwards towards water, and they will always have a stronger response to water than gravity to ensure that a plant gets the water it needs. So remember when we were talking about what it would respond to better, and we were saying gravity? Well, it actually responds to water because that's what it needs more than gravity. So now we're going to talk about specifically roots and shoots, how they respond to stimuli. So the shoots, which again are the tops of the plants, grow towards sunlight, so they're called positively phototropic. Shoots that grow away from gravity is considered negatively geotropic. Now, got to remember, this is talking just about the shoots, the part above the ground. So the shoots that grow towards the sunlight, they're going towards a positive stimuli, it's going to be positive phototropism. If they're growing away from gravity, it's negative because gravity is pushing down and causing them to move away. The roots, which are underground, grow away from the sunlight, so they're negatively phototropic. And roots that grow towards gravity are positively geotropic. So it kind of depends on if we're talking above ground or below ground. This is kind of the really cool part of the whole thing. Plant hormones can be produced synthetically and used in gardening and agriculture. So the next few slides are going to bring up some kind of interesting stuff. So plant hormones can be used for growing cuttings of plants. So you cut a piece off and you grow a new plant. For ripening fruit, for killing weeds, for controlling dormancy. Do you guys remember what dormancy is? That's where a plant kind of goes into its shell and is not active at all. It's just kind of in a deep, deep sleep. Can also be used for making seedless fruit. So think about some of the reasons these might be useful for gardeners and farmers. So we're actually going to tell you now how that is. So weeds, one of the first things that no farmer wants. We don't even want weeds in our yard, even if we don't have a garden. But the trick is that chemicals that are good weed killers also can harm humans, animals, good plants. So plant hormones can be used instead to make weed killers that only affect certain types of plants. Most weeds, so here's how they do it. Most weeds have broad leaves, but the cereal grains, which have narrow leaves, can be protected from the weeds by using a weed killer that only affects the growth of broad-leaved plants. So that's kind of cool. Some of this stuff should sound a little familiar if you took Bio A or Bio B as well. How are the plants' hormones used to ripen fruit? Fruit is normally, not many people realize this, but it's normally picked before it's ripe. So the idea is that it lasts longer on the trip because it can travel from one side of the country to the other. Unripe fruit's harder, less likely to bruise. So if you've ever been to the grocery store and you pick up a peach or nectarine or anything that's just rock hard, it's not ripened yet. You can't even smell it. So they're supposed to be ripened when they get closer, when it reaches its main distribution house. They'll spray it with artificial plant hormones to encourage ripening. So why do you think it might be a good idea to wash fruit before eating it? Although the plant hormones shouldn't be bad for you, anytime you get something synthetic sprayed, you might want to clean that off. The trick here, though, with the plant hormones is ethylene. It's the hormone that controls fruit ripening, and it can be sprayed on unripe fruit. So if you paid attention to bananas, they produce a ton of ethylene. Let me actually get you the picture of the bananas. And so they ripen really fast. If you have a clump of bananas, you notice one day they're green, next day they've got brown spots, or at least that's how it feels, huh? But if you take a banana and put it near another fruit that needs ripening, or put it in a brown paper bag, you will cause that other fruit to ripen faster because of the ethylene. Interestingly enough, ancient Egyptians would expose figs to natural gas, which had ethylene, to encourage ripening. And then thinking about that, why might it be important to keep fruit away from certain types of engines during transportation? Same concept as the Egyptians and the natural gas. Any little bit of ethylene that is exposed to the plants will cause that fruit to ripen. Dormancy, I mentioned this a few minutes ago. Seeds can lie dormant for many years. They don't germinate even in warm, moist conditions. It has to be the right condition. So out here, the sage plants, desert plants, they will not get rid of their seeds until you get rain. Interestingly enough, we had a sage plant in our yard, and I was doing something with water, and I turned the water onto the sage plant, and it started popping all these little seeds. It's like there's water, and it's throwing all these seeds everywhere. It was audible pops, so it was kind of cool. So that's what dormancy ensures, that the seeds don't all germinate at the same time. Plants have different ways of taking care of this. So if there's a very short period of poor growing conditions, the dormant seeds can survive to reproduce. This is also controlled by plant hormones, and then farmers will use the same concept with artificial hormones to keep seeds from germinating, keep them dormant longer. This was kind of cool. The record for the longest dormancy was held by a 100-year-old lotus seed, which finally sprouted in 1995. Now I want to know how they figured out it was 1,300 years old. So somebody want to look that up and email that to me? Seedless fruit. This is our last slide. Plants usually reproduce using seeds found inside the fruit, but people don't like to eat fruit with seeds, right? Like the watermelon. As growing up, they didn't have seedless watermelons, so you have the little black seeds, and you're constantly spitting them out or pulling them out of your watermelon. The seedless watermelon's fantastic. For some plants, these are a couple ways farmers can produce seedless fruit. They can prevent pollination. They can do selective breeding to create plants that have too many chromosomes, can't produce seeds. I think that's the more common one. They create the hybrids. So every year they have to kind of start over new because the hybrids can't reproduce. And then most plants only grow fruits if they have developing seeds. So plants that grow seedless fruit are sprayed with plant hormones called auxin and gibberellin to stimulate the fruit growth even though there are no seeds. So kind of cool, quick roundup of plant hormones. Here's your exit ticket. You can copy and paste or write down this link. And then right after that, you have a glossary. All the words we used in class are right here. All right, have a good day. Complete the